So you've learnt a handful of chords and you've gotten fairly proficient at moving between them. But one question nags away at you. By what strange alchemy do people build chord progressions of their own? How do they decide what chords work together? Well, stick around and I will try and explain. Now, I know this might seem a bit like tediously dismantling a magic trick, but there are some formulas here that I think it really pays to be aware of. For example, a lot of songs, whether consciously or not, adhere to something which you might call, if you're feeling fancy, diatonic harmony. Certainly not all songs, and that's a point we'll return to. But diatonic harmony, if you're feeling a little bit more straightforward, you might simply call playing in key. So let's look at what that means in practical terms. We'll start from a very simple premise, that the song you're going to write is going to be in a particular key. Now, there are some people who might object to that already and to complain that I'm not talking about the rich catalogue of completely atonal music. And my sincere apologies to any fans of Alban Berg or Bela Bartok's Hungarian peasant songs, but I'm afraid I'm altogether more basic than that. So I'm going to deal with music that has a very clear tonal key centre. So what that means is, let's say for example we're writing a song in the key of C major. What that's going to mean in practical terms is the chord of C major is going to act as our musical home base. It's going to be where we're going to feel most secure as the listener, then the song is going to feel at rest. It's often, although again, certainly not always, it's often the first and last chord you're going to hear with a song in C major. It also, in practical terms, usually, yet again, not always, but usually means that everything within the song, the melody, the chord progression, the bass line, it's all going to be derived from the same source, and that is the C major scale. So to get us started, we're going to need to get very well acquainted with that scale. So the major scale often gets a little bit overlooked by guitarists, I feel, for one reason or another. Maybe it has kind of unpleasant associations with nursery rhymes or Julie Andrews skipping down a mountain or whatever happens in that film. I've never actually seen it. But anyway, it's an absolutely essential element in building a bit of a foundation for this stuff. So let's look at what's going on. So whether we start from C or any other note at all, it's going to follow the same formula. And it's a formula of whole tones and half tones, or whole tones and semitones. A whole tone being a distance of 2 frets. So going up a whole tone from there takes us up to there. A semitone, you probably guessed it already, goes from there to there. The major scale formula is tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So if we start from C, we go up a tone, then another tone, then a semitone, then a tone, then a tone, then a tone, and then a final semitone brings us back to the same note we started on an octave higher. So the notes of a C major scale, conveniently enough, are all the natural notes. They're all the white keys of a piano. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C. So the reason this is so important is, as well as showing us what notes are diatonic to the key of C major, i.e. in the key of C major, it also shows us what chords are diatonic to C major. And we can figure that out by harmonising the notes in the scale. And we do that like this. Let's say, for example, we start on the very first note of the scale, which was C. We're going to harmonise by jumping over the next note, which was D, and including the third note, which was E. we're then going to skip over the fourth note, which was F, and include the fifth note, which was G. So we've got the root note, the first, the third, and the fifth, which are the notes of a C major chord. So no major surprises so far, hopefully. The chord of C major is indeed in the key of C major. But we can do that exact same thing with every note in the scale in turn. So for example, if we started not on the C but on the D, we would then skip past the next note, which is E, and include the F. We would then skip past the G and include the A. Which give us the notes of a D minor chord. So already we know two chords that are going to work together pretty well, hopefully. C major and D minor. Fine, but we're going to focus today on another chord in particular from within the major scale. And it's the chord that is built off of the sixth degree of the scale. In the case of C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's an A note. So if we harmonise, following the same process, we're getting the notes A, C, and E, which is an A minor chord. So chord 6 in the key of C major is A minor. Now this is a very, very significant chord. This is what's known as the relative minor. And already you're probably remembering all sorts of songs you've heard that do that. So you might reasonably be thinking, okay, fine, but it's not really a chord progression, is it? Just moving between two chords. But you might be surprised. If you think of songs like Shout by the Isley Brothers, or Haiti by Arcade Fire, or Songbird by Oasis, they do literally just that, just move between the tonic and the relative minor. And there is something just kind of endlessly satisfying about it. It's a very smooth transition because those two chords have 2 out of 3 notes in common. So we get a very nice smooth movement from one to the other. Also, you notice that chord 6 has a kind of stability of its own. It doesn't sound like we've departed anywhere too unexpected. But the two chords serve as a kind of a light and dark version of each other. And there is something about that yin and yang kind of a feel that we just really find very satisfying. It's kind of to be or not to be in musical form, if I were feeling a little pretentious. So there's actually quite a bit of mileage in that for your songwriting. So in terms of next steps then, I would see what you can make out of just those two chords. If you're a good singer or you know a good singer, you might be able to build something off of that very, very simple premise. Also, I think it's, as a kind of an extra project, it's really worth being aware of how to move between the tonic and relative minor in all different keys. So if, for example, you're in G, you can work out that the relative minor is E. Or if you're in A flat, you know that the relative minor is F. So get yourself in a position where you can do that in all different keys. And also start to see if you can notice that chord change in songs that you listen to. I guarantee you'll hear it a lot. It might not be the entire song, but it will almost certainly be used in a song that you hear in the very near future. So that's all for now. See what you can do with that, and I will see you very soon for the next instalment. If you found this useful or interesting, please consider liking and subscribing, and see you again soon. Cheers.